G'day everyone, welcome back to another video on the channel. In today's video is a pretty special one as we'll be going over my grand final preview and tips for the 2022 AFL season. If you're going to enjoy today's video, make sure to leave a like and subscribe, that'll be much appreciated. But before we get into the grand final preview, we'll quickly go over my tips from last week. Okay, the prelim final tips, I'm pretty sure everybody got the 2 out of 2 and so did I. Pretty straightforward really. I mean, it made sense for people. Tried the upset tip of the Lions or the Pies, but for me I just felt the Cats and the Swans were going to be too strong for their opponents, and we pretty much saw that with both games, especially the Cats absolutely obliterating the Lions by 71 points. You could just see from minute one that the Lions just seemed to bridge too far. You know, the Cats are just simply class above. Terrific all around the ground, and they got the job done with ease. Whilst in the prelim final of the next night, the Swans versus the Pies, well, the Swans led for the whole game. They were looking very comfortable throughout most of the game, controlled it well. Around the third quarter, letting a game high 36 points. You felt like they got this in the bag, but then the Pies did that, what they've been so good at this year. They're surging back, put the Swans in the back foot, and pretty unfortunate not to really steal the win from the Swans as the Bloods hold on by a point, and they will meet the Cats in a huge grand final. It's going to be awesome. Okay, quick look at the top 10 in my tipping competition. Of course, just the grand final left, so this is what the top 10 is looking like. 10th Buck for Life, 9th Wheelies 12, 8th Bailey Barber, 7th Sub Velocity, 6th 14 𝐴.STOCK, 5th 𝘼𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐸, 4th Winsoms, 3rd Sophie Master 600, 2nd Bloods for Life, and 1st Platinum. Okay, well, here we are. Here is the huge grand final preview on the channel. Of course, we'll be going over who I think will win the game and the Norm Smith medal and all that stuff. But yeah, simply, it's going to be a cracking contest. The Swans and the Cats, the first time in history, are going to be playing each other in a grand final. And when you really think about it, the past maybe decade or so, it's been probably two of the most just consistent sides in the competition finally meeting each other in the grand final. So it's almost like about time this matchup is here. Of course, across the span of the year, both sides have probably been, of course, the most consistent as well. The Cats probably just edging that one out with home late season success, obviously finishing 3rd, with the Swans finishing 3rd. But the Swans really did peak at the right time. Now, around 17 onwards, I think it was, they won every single game, and they call it the premiership runway. You know, you've really got to be good towards the late stage of the season, build the momentum, and that's what they've just managed to do whilst fixing their contested game, their pressure, their all-around ground ability. They're looking quite primed for a potential flag, but it's going to be hard against the Cats, who we have to treat them as the benchmark of the competition. They finished first for a reason. They've just been awesome across the whole year, and they've improved on a lot of aspects as well. They've really upped their contested game. They've played with a lot more dare compared to last year. Their kick to handball ratio is a lot more kicks. They just want to really get it forward as soon as they take a mark. They play with a lot more chaos and aggression, and less more of that control and chip mark that we did see last year. So this is, they're doing everything right to win the flag, the Cats, but the Swans will really feature their chances. They play some good footy against the top sides, the Swans, so it's going to be a gripping contest. Cats heading into this game, favourites of course, so you really got to pose the question of how you're going to stop the Cats. What is their kryptonite? Because they look pretty much awesome across all aspects of the ground. We saw last week against the Lions, every time they tried to get deliveries inside 50, the Cats defend extremely well. They always set up behind the ball very well. They always have that spare man, where they might be a Teqoy or a Tom Stewart or a Jack Henry or a 𝘲𝐿𝐼𝐻𝐸 just sitting there, and they just use their plays very well. You know, their midfield's really well managed. The rucks is spread across evenly around the ground. You know, they'll have a they'll have like a Blitzarves just hanging, sweeping behind the play, and he'll go on ball. Or sometimes he goes in the ruck. Stanley as well. They just do things really well, the Cats. So, of course, what is their kryptonite? And I believe it has to be, from what we saw week 1, pressure. We saw an interesting stat is when the opposition has over 180 pressure index, they've won 5 and lost 4 this season. Whilst the pressure, when they versus the side with the pressure index of being under 180, they've won every single game that's come their way under that criteria. So, you know, there's no better side. They're versing the Swans. They are ranked number 1 in the competition for pressure. So you just know that if the Swans are wanting to get up and win this flag, their pressure has to be sky high across the whole 4 quarters, which we have mostly seen throughout the second half of the year. They just play with just such aggression, the Swans, when it's in their forward half. They're the best forward half side in the comp. They're the best ground ball forward 50 side in the competition. So when it's in those prime positions, they're a very good post stoppage side as well, this one. So whenever, after, the forward half stoppage, they're very good at as well. They just really take most of their chances, the Swans, most of the time. So I think it's kind of like playing strength to strength. The forward half, ability compared to the Geelong's, tremendous defence is going to be really interesting. The matchups there is going to be quite fascinating. So if the Swans want to win this game, I think it's just got to be pressure, and the outside ball use and the kicking skills has got to be really up there for the Swans if they are to dismantle the Cats. But it's going to be a bloody hard task because the Cat is tremendous pretty much the whole season. As I said, they really work well around the ground. The midfield contested game is just getting up there. It's, at a really reasonable level now, but how they do this so well is just from the defense. They set up extremely well. They play with a really good, just whenever you see them in attack, they just got the right players at the right time. They've really got extremely very good high half forwards. Brad Close and Isaac Smith across the wings, and Tyson Stengel as well. They bring the heat too, and deliver it into their forward half, where they have tremendous names such as Hawkins and Cameron, who on their day can be very damaging. If they get 2 or 3 goals between them, they're most likely winning the game of football. It's simple as that. And they'd be, I feel like the matchups of McCartan brothers on your Hawkins and Cameron is very interesting. It may be perhaps even a Rampy on Cameron. We'll see with those kind of matchups. But, Tom McCartan has been prone to, conceding a lot of goals against some key forwards this year. He conceded a bag against Max King, conceded a bag against Charlie Curnow, conceded a bag against Nick Larkey. And it's interesting to see how they go against Hawkins and Cameron, because last time these two sides did play, Geelong were very, very inaccurate. They actually had more of the scoring shots, but still lost by 30 points. So if they're kicking very accurate, it's going to be really hard for Geelong not to lose the game. So yeah, everything's pretty much got to go right for the Swans if I do want to see them win this game. And the Cats' efficiency inside 50 is extremely good too. So there's just so many strengths on the Cats side of things to really win this game. As said just before, I reckon the only way the Swans can really win this game is their outside ball use needs to be very good. They've got to lower their eyes, because if they just casually bomb it inside 50, it's just going to be eaten up by the Cats' spare defender. They defend extremely well, limit a lot. They limit many scores per inside 50. They're very good in those aspects. And their pressure. Their pressure is going to be high. It's what's been one of their main keys to winning games, the Swans. So it's going to be hot, sky high. It's going to be a cracking game, this one. Now for, I'll probably go over the matchups a bit, who I think will be on who. Mills probably to Dangerfield on the midfield. Did an excellent job. Callum Mills on danger last time they played. He's a special player, Callum Mills, because he can, nullify an opponent, but at the same time, get plenty of ball himself. He's just the ultimate two-way runner. Possibly, Luke Parker and a Cameron Guthrie, maybe a James Rowbottom and a Joel Selwood. All things will probably move around, but the more interesting one is the forward and defender matchups. But looking at them now, I think Hawkins, Tom McCartan will take the job on Hawkins. Maybe it could be Paddy McCartan, but the thing was, the key to the Swans win when these two sides verse each other back in round 2 is that Rampy and McCartan defended in a way which allowed it to free up Paddy McCartan, and he just took intercept after intercept mark. So I think Dane Rampy will take Jeremy Cameron, because he's taken him plenty of times in the past, especially when he was back at the Giants, because Rampy is a very athletic defender. Of course, will be undersized, but he has the athleticism up against Cameron, and McCartan, I think, has to be sticking with Hawkins. We saw that last time, which does free up Paddy. It's going to be really crucial. There might be a Gary Rowan or a Graham Myers to try and, take Paddy McCartan out of the game, maybe lead out from a high half forward role. But I think for the key thing for the Swans, if they really want to defend well, is they want to free up Paddy McCartan to take those intercept grabs. And then you've got your likes of Ollie Florent might go on a high half forward like a Brad Close or Graham Myers or Gary Rowan. And Jake Lloyd will probably take the loose man. I think now moving on to the forward line for the Swans, I think Jed Buse will take Tom Papley. He's been very good on the small forwards this year. Sam Teqoy looks like he's going to take the job on Big Bud, which, I'm not surprised. He's been very good against quality key forwards this year, Sam Teqoy, so I'm really interested to see that matchup, because Sam Teqoy is definitely the more athletic key defender, it's safe to say. Kula Jasny and Jack Henry might switch between each other to do the job on Logan McDonald or Sam Reid, whoever floats in there, but there'll definitely be one of those two players, including Tom Stewart as well, who will take the spare man sort of role. Maybe Tom Stewart will go on Will Hayward or a deeper forward that the Swans do do have. The matchups, that's probably what I'm looking at so far. Those are probably just the main ones. Then with the rest of the other ones, they'll just float, you know, with different matchups throughout the game, you do think. So with all those things explained, fellas, simply if the Cats want to win this game, they've got to absorb the Swans pressure really well from minute one, and they've just got to really feed the footy to Tom Hawkins and Jeremy Cameron. Whilst their high half forwards this year have just been tremendously well at servicing those two plays, and as well they've been getting on the scoreboard too, like your 𝐼𝐻𝐿 𝐼𝐻𝐿𝐼 and Gary Rowan and Brad Close have just been extremely well around the ground and going forward and kicking goals. Just all round really good solid plays that will definitely be servicing those two big key forwards. And then in other terms, just their defensive half. You know, they've got to really get that spare man going, and they've really got to watch out for the Swans, because you feel like they will lower the eyes quite a bit. But if all things, you know, just get the ball rolling, you know, all things fall into their terms, you think the Cats will be winning this game. And then looking at the Swans, their pressure is just going to be up if they want to win this game of footy. Lower their eyes inside 50, get their outside ball use going, because I feel like their midfield contested game will be very even throughout this matchup. And yeah, now moving on to who I think will win this game. It's tough. You know, I'm a Swans man myself. I've got tremendous optimism that we can win this game. But it's just hard to see, you know, the Cats really slip up in this game. You know, just the lineup of what the Cats do have is just so extremely strong. They match up really well against the Swans, I do feel. It's going to be a close game, I really do reckon. I know it's so stereotypical, but just this matchup, you know, the Cats don't get spanked, the Swans don't get spanked. So I feel like it's going to be a really solid hit out. You know, one more thing as well, you know, who will Ryan Clark tag as well? That's going to be quite interesting. It's either going to be Tom Stewart or Mitch Duncan. I feel like Tom Stewart is a player that will sit back quite a bit and take the intercepts and progress the ball forward, whilst Mitch Duncan will probably be more of their accumulator with meters gained. So I feel like Ryan Clark does take more of the meters gained kind of player, so I reckon he will be going to Mitch Duncan. Who knows? Could go to Stewart. I reckon it's Duncan. But yeah, for the tip, it is really tough. I think it's going to be a close game. Probably 60-40 game in favour of the Cats. I generally think, you know, people are probably writing off the Swans too much here. We've seen it many times this year. The Swans have been tremendous against the top sides. So I can really see this a fair going the other way. But just because of the Cats, just all-round ground, really good. You know, the forward half, I can easily see Hawkins and Cameron having a big day. You know, their small forwards are just truly underrated as well. That's what gets the ball rolling. And as well, Dangerfield and Guthrie and Selwood have just been rested to perfection, I really think. And if Max Holmes is in too, it's going to be very solid. Of course, Sam Reid needs to be in the side if they really do want to win this game. I reckon the Swans, because they really need that player for structure. But for me, I just feel like the Cats are just edging out the Swans here. I'm going to be tipping the Cats. They're going to be winning the flag, I do reckon, in a pretty solid hit out. I reckon it's going to be close throughout most stages of the game. But the Cats might have that period where they kick, you know, 3 or 4 goals in a row. And the Cats will win this grand final by 15 points. And now for who I think will take home the Norm Smith medal. It's a really interesting one here. Considering that Geelong I've predicted them to win by 15 points. It's most likely going to be a Cats player. Could be maybe a Callum Mills or a Chad Warner, for example, who've accumulated a lot of the footy, maybe got a lot of meters gained. So it could be one of them. But I'm feeling like one of their midfielders, the Cats midfielders, will really turn up this game. And a player who I reckon will take home the Norm Smith medal is Tom Stewart from the Geelong Cats. You could probably maybe go for a midfielder. That would probably be more of the popular choice, like maybe a Dangerfield or a Selwood or a Guthrie. But I'm just feeling the midfield is going to be really strong throughout the whole game between both sides. Just going to be battling out. And I feel like the Norm Smith medal could be won from a high goal scorer or an accumulator on the outside game or even in defence. And I'm just seeing Tom Stewart could have just a huge game playing as that spare man defender, playing as the quarterback role, because sometimes when Swans have played opposition, they have a halfback flanker or an interceptor who just goes absolutely ballistic, and I can easily see Tom Stewart just every time it goes inside 50, I reckon he might take 10 intercept marks plus or have over 10 intercepts and just be a magnet towards that footy. Every time it goes in the Swans 450, he's just always there to mob up and sweep and just clear it out. And I just reckon Tom Stewart's going to have a huge game in the Cutters defensive 50 and will take home the Norm Smith medal. And also I had in another prediction who I think will kick the most goals on the day. So the game leading goal scorer. I'm feeling Tom Hawkins. I reckon he'll get the job done there. Maybe it could be Jeremy Cameron, Buddy Franklin, who knows? Or maybe it'll just be very even in the scoring sheet across both sides. But I'm just feeling Hawkins is going to have a big one. He kicked, I think it was 2 goals or 3 goals for last week. He really could have picked a bag. So I feel like, you know, sometimes with these key forwards, they'll have a really inaccurate week the one week. Then the next week, they'll just turn around the corner and kick everything in front of them. So I'm feeling Hawkins will go big. I reckon he'll kick 4 goals and he'll be the game high goal scorer. So everyone, thank you very much for tuning in into today's video. There was my grand final preview, just going over some of the matchups and some of the keys to winning this game, who wins and why, all that whatnot. So make sure to leave a like and subscribe if you wanted to enjoy today's video. That would be much appreciated. Feel free to comment down below and let me know what you think of my preview. Would you know, maybe tip the Swans, for example? Let me know what you think down below, fellas. Love to hear your fellas' thoughts. Once again, everyone, thank you very much for tuning into today's video. And until next time, I'll talk to you later. See you later, fellas.